actually signing up. They just need to show up. For us, we do know who's registering. So
Yeah, so this is very informal, very casual. And this is Bhavani. She is also on our committee. Hello, Bhavani.
Hello, how are you?
We're good.
So yeah, I'm glad I was doing something, I had to finish a paper for tomorrow, but then suddenly I remembered this is a very important meeting. I've got to be present, and I'm also very interested in listening to your talk, Tamara.
thank you so much. Thank you.
So hi, Michelle. Michelle just said that she started the recording as well. So being recorded.
Right, and normally our department head comes to these meetings, but he had another meeting he had to go to. So that he's a very busy man.
Managing a department of our size and diverse group.
Mm.
How many faculty do we have? I mean, all the faculty together, but probably 100? I don't know.
I think it's getting close to 100.
Close to 100. We have got like 5,300 students. Oh.
I know.
And thanks, we have only one Michelle to do all our web stuff. She's fantastic.
I know. Thank
Michelle,
you.
are you there, Michelle? She's taken
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, she's taken so many wonderful photographs. Oh, I don't know what we'll do without her. Let's see. Oh, quite a few have joined already.
Yeah, Anjum is here. Charles is here. Oh my goodness.
Charles
Shields.
Charles, I would say. And Norma is here.
Norma. Wonderful.
Yes, guys, how are y'all doing?
Well, we're doing good. We just came back to in person, so.
I know, I heard.
Yeah, I'm really. We are on Zoom, right? I mean, not Zoom. We are all on. This is not in person, isn't it? This talk.
No. Yeah.
Links.
But you so just had classes. Charles, how have you been?
Yeah, I want to ask Charles, how do you like retirement, Charles? I really envy you. I want to go to retire and go to New York and be with my grandchildren.
Well, I characterize it as sort of a mixed bag. If you're going to retire, you really need to know what you're going to do when you retire. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You do not want to retire and just sort of become a couch potato in any way. So you should have some idea of what you want to do and what you're going to do. And, spending time with your grandchildren certainly sounds great if you decide to do that.
Right. But I was telling my husband, he said, no, I will be miserable when I'm retired, he said.
Yeah.
Essentially, I think, although he didn't put it in so many words, he's saying what you mentioned. I mean, it's great with the grandchildren, but then they have their parents, right? I'm not going to be there 24/7. I mean, they wouldn't want me there, right? So anyway.
You have to have a purpose and you have to have a task that you're working on. You can't be happy without it. That's absolutely true. But it's good to see you guys.
I don't want to take Tamara's glory, so I'll keep quiet. Thank you.
Well, let me go ahead and start the meeting, and then I'll mute myself and let Tamara take over. So just for those of you, we have at least one guest today. This GRACE series is sponsored by the Computer Science Department of UTD, and we hold about 3 meetings a semester. And we're always looking for speakers, so if anyone has any suggestions, please let me know. But these talks are always focused on women in tech and all of the associated topics that go along with that. So it's my pleasure to introduce Tamra Bassam to you. I got to know Tamra when she reached out to UTD as part of the DFW Alliance of Technology and Women. So Tamra has a passion for girls and women in STEM, which makes her a perfect fit for our series. I'll let Tamra describe her career, but it's taken her from engineering to product management and entrepreneurship. All right, please welcome Tamra. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. I am really honored to be here tonight and to speaking to all of you, and then I would say to the future professionals that we look forward that they join us in that journey. I did prepare a few slides. I'm going to be sharing my screen if that's okay. Okay. Perfect. Do you see my presentation coming through?
Yes.
Perfect. So my first slide is my little intro. I am born and raised in Beirut, Lebanon. My dad is a professor in history. He retired now, he's 73, but he was a professor and teacher at school, professor at university for all his career. My mom has a master's degree also in history. And it was dad that helped her to get through that after getting married. That's why they both share the same major. I graduated from Beirut Arab University with a degree of electrical engineering and telecom in 2006. I am an aunt. I have two, one nephew and niece. My brother is a dentist. His wife is a family doctor. So kind of we all, I would say, my parent kind of fed us that education is important. I also was lucky to attend a master's degree at SMU. And I know that Dr. Duncan was for the longest time at UTD, by the way. So it was an engineering entrepreneurship. I graduated 2019. I do have two monsters, 6 years old, 6.5, and a 2 years old. And recently in 2021, I became an American citizen. So this is a little bit about personal information. Well, soon enough, most of the attendees that they are still in the university students, you're gonna be graduating. So I want you to consider your graduation degree as your passport. And this is gonna help you draft your resume. You're gonna have a major, you're gonna have a minor, and you're gonna be able to choose any job in between. The fun thing about a career is that you get to build it one job at a time. When you become a professional, you will realize that jobs are made of tasks. Combined, they generate a result. Just like all your courses that you take for your degree, combined, they give you the degree in one major. So you can't really say, I'm going to focus on this, not going to focus on that. You're going to have successfully and equally have to understand each of those topics. And the same for your task, you have to equally and successfully deliver them. And the reason I put this picture of my daughter is because everything is so beautiful at this phase. You foresee that the future is bright and white, and that's definitely what should be the case. The first section I'm going to be covering is learning never stops. I'm going to give few examples about what would push us to learn in different phases of our career. The first one is going to be hearing of something new. You know, like now you're about to graduate, that's good. You're going to be having all the new terms, all the new technologies, all the latest and greatest of your major. But then soon enough, you're going to start hearing of a new term or a new technology or a new invention. And probably you didn't hear of them before because you simply didn't come across them, but they also could be something new. And that will trigger you to like, do I want to learn it? Do I want to ignore it? And unfortunately, we live in an era where you cannot ignore it because your professional career needs that knowledge. So this is one of the triggers why we need to learn, keep open mind to learn. The second one, to be relevant to the market. Well, in my case, I graduated at 23, and assuming we're going to retire at 65, we have a 40 years of career that we need to be relevant in the field and in the market. So throughout all these 40 years, either we move horizontally between jobs and then between industries, or we move vertically where we get promotion and so on. But then at each time, it's what drives you that will push you to take those decisions. Do I want to switch the job and then stay lateral, or I want to go up? That being relevant to the market, it will push you again to keep learning what's the latest and greatest, and then what's my new job requires me to do. The next aspect of why would we want to be open for learning and we have to continue learning is that at each job, we're going to start with doing some tasks, and some of them you know them, but some others you just simply didn't come across them. So that pushes you to learn. And then to learn them, sometimes you need to take a training. Sometimes that training comes from your company university. There is always like online university for companies. Other times they're gonna tell you, please take that training online, and probably we pay you for it. So in other circumstances as well, let's say I'm gonna give like a project management. In project management, there are certification for whoever is practicing being a project manager. They have to do like a PMP or a Scrum Master or a product owner. So those kind of I would say responsibilities do force you to take a certification in them. And other times, the companies will be part of some ISOs or some ITAR, depend on the industry you're going to be working on. And that's what they call it, compliance with something. So that also will force their employees to take some training and certification. So you can see sometimes you can choose, yes, I want to do it or not, but then other times you simply can go around it. And the next example about why learning never really stops is taking advantage of a layoff. And that it really depends on who has went through a layoff and what triggered a layoff. But then what would you do when you got a layoff? And pretty much recently, recently I would say since 28 plus, companies laying off employees is becoming so often. So I was let go in 2015. I was at Ericsson. I was 3 months pregnant with our first child. And, 3 months pregnant, mainly if in 2 months you don't find the job, your baby belly will show. Then you're going to have to push it all the way after delivery. And then at the time in 2015, I didn't have a good network around me. So really 2 months wasn't good enough for me. So that kind of directed me as like, okay, Tamara, stop searching, but don't stop learning. So what I decided to do is go and do my PMP certification. And then throughout my preparations for a job after delivery, I came across the term Scrum Master. I was like, what is a Scrum Master? Now we have to study for that. So I found myself taking that training, doing the certification exam. And I remember very clearly, because it's something I'm so proud about, that I did my Scrum Master exam on a Friday, and Sunday I went for my delivery. So you want to think of it like, even though for 6 months I was at home, but I didn't tell myself, okay, Tamara, don't do nothing, just wait for your baby. I couldn't really function like that. I even made my husband take care of all the cooking and then cleaning. I was like, as if I'm full-time working. I'm not really at home every day. So with that, I mean, I hope I covered enough examples why we want to think of a learning that's something that feeds the brain so we stay successful, we stay on top of our career. The moment we think that, oh, what I know is good enough, then you're kind of setting up yourself for some failure, because then other people will outsmart you. And in this slide, I wanted to show the different certification or learning that I had to do for my career. And they were really, most of them, they were pushed or they were triggered by the position I was holding at the time. So I graduated in 2006. Right away, CCNA was a big thing. Being in Ericsson for a few years, they was like, you know what, we want to teach you all what is a financial terms, so that whenever you are doing delivery for a project, you really understand the consequences from a business view. 2015, I mentioned that was the year I was let go. Being at home, I did those certifications. A little bit later, I figured that, okay, let me get into the leadership path. So I went to the SMU Cox, and then they had a leadership training. A year after, I was already doing a customer success manager at Cisco. So ITIL became a thing for them. So I had to go and clear it. And then after 2018, I started my master's degree, and engineering entrepreneurship takes you to the product ownership part. So I had to tell myself, okay, go do product owner certification. And then last year it was business analytics. I did it from Harvard because I joined the portfolio management role. And in portfolio management, you really need to analyze your business, know what's good, what's not good. So you could see that if you would ask me into anybody and myself is like, how would you know what I would study? What would I know how I need to learn and what I need to learn? Just like jobs comes one at a time, certifications will also come one at a time. And they will come whenever they are suitable for your career. Once your colleagues and peers start mentioning them, that means you're lacking them. Just be open minded that, okay, when it's going to be my next course. I don't have anything planned for 2022. If you're asking, I just want to take it easy for half a year at least. Maybe in summer, I'll aim for something. And in this one, they are exactly the same information. The only reason I'm mentioning them again is to give you the value dollar associated with it. And I don't really care to tell how much I paid. I just want you also to consider that all these investments, they will give you a return on them by growing in your job and in your career. In order to do so, you want to think that, yes, while I'm earning money here and there, I need to save. You don't need to save for a car only or to buy a home only. You need to save for your education. You just never know when it's going to be the time. Like now, you need to do something, and you're like, oh, just like this, I would say the leadership at SMU, it was a $4,000. Luckily, I had it ready at the time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have planned it. The business analytic, it was paid by my company, but I am putting the value dollar there as 3,000, just so you know an idea how much these things will cost you. So you don't want to think that, oh, I make my money to spend it on myself as a physical appearance or on my home. You want to also think that I want to invest the money on my brain to keep nurturing my brain so I keep be relevant to the market, successful in my career, continue with all the responsibilities to start with. So that was the first section. Now I'm going to move to the next one, which is hard work pays off. And it's funny because people will be like, hey, what is hard? Or there is always this misconception for the young, right? Not for us adults who's been there, who've done it, who knows what it is. Hard work is the commitment we have to put for any task in hand that we need to accomplish. And that commitment is not limited really to some number of hours. It's a task. And it's about that journey toward the result of that task. You might have to write a code and test it. You know what? You have to test it multiple times until it works. You might have to challenge yourself to find a solution for an existing problem that you didn't come across before. So that task, that commitment you take is sometimes might result in long hours and other times not. But really, it's that challenging yourself to solve the situation or the task in hand, to learn from it, and to build upon that experience. This is for me what is hard work and how you can be smart while doing your work. For that, I'm going to give a couple of examples. And here, I know when we aimed for the presentation, I told Karen, I'm going to try to be as positive as possible. This one is not going to be really too much positive, but this is reality. Something we hear so many people saying, work-life balance. I don't know why we keep giving people false promises and professionals that there is something called work-life balance. I believe after, I don't know, like 17, 18 years in career, I know for a fact, and Karen, you can build on that, there is definitely nothing called work-life balance. Um, one of the examples I'm gonna share is like, I wanted to make a change in my career. I wanted to move from engineering position to product management position in 2018, 2019. And for that, one of the ways I could do that is by doing further education, which is the master's degree I did. But then throughout those 2 years, when I did my master's degree as a part-time, I continued to be a wife. I continued to be a mother for my first child, who was like 4.5 at the time. I was a professional. I was still doing my 8 to 5 job, and I was a student in the evening or over the weekend, whatever is my classes. So I had to spend many nights really studying. I remember my husband would be literally sleeping, snoring, and I am just like, okay, I have to get this done. And I didn't watch Game of Thrones. And the reason I'm mentioning this series is because I just finished it yesterday. Okay. I know it's an old one, but this is what I was busy doing. I was busy building my career and my learning, so I can be rewarded by my job. Um, and then the funny part also, in the middle of this 2 years, right? So by the beginning of the second year, I got pregnant, and I delivered Sophia December 1st, and I did walk my graduation December 21st. It was definitely a hard work and dedication, and I feel very much rewarded today because it did enable me to reach my goal. It did enable me to become a product manager today, and get to what I wanted mainly. It's set your goal and you will get for it. So for me, hard work payoff is sometimes is no work-life balance, and sometimes maybe one evening you can go have fun and it will make you forget. The reason I am putting this slide, which is very personal, it was literally at the beginning of COVID. Sophia was 3 months in February 2020. And my aim of this picture is to tell you, as a mother, again, what I had to do. My role was very demanding at Honeywell. I was selling sensors that they go in the ventilator. And if you recall, the assumptions of ventilator being the solution of COVID was at its height. So Sophia would sleep on me, being fed on me taking calls. Because Adam, he's been with us for 4 years and a half without another companion. He was crazy jealous for the first 6 months. So if I am feeding her, as if she's sleeping on me, he's sleeping on my feet. And I was still being on my calls. So at the end of the day, there is different path a professional can take, a man, a woman, it doesn't matter. A path where you say, I can do this. It's situational. It's for a small period of time. It will get better. Or you'll say, I'm quitting. And I simply had enough in me that I didn't want to quit. Again, I put it in the work life angle, but it doesn't need to be there. It can be also in the angle of how strong your goals are and where you want to get to. The second example I would give about hard work pays off is something nowadays, not nowadays, it's actually always, it's the customer, right? In one of my assignment at Ericsson, I was given a project to work remotely to Sudan. I was still in Lebanon, and delivering it was really hard. The project planning wasn't good. I had to work during the day to prepare the work. I had to execute after midnight. It's telecom business, so you work with the cell tower and everything. But then we had to test everything before 5 a.m. It was just exhausting. What we are doing is what we can do, but there wasn't enough resources assigned. It was only me, one man show running the whole thing. So at the end, when we finished the project, it was the customer feedback that gave me the reward. It gave me a nice satisfaction. Definitely, when you have a customer, sending those kind of letter, the manager will also gives you all the motivation you need to keep going. So my payoff at the time, it was the recognition from the customer that I would say gave me some uh, competitive advantage. This is a business term also, like why this resource and not the other one. So I always want to, for our professional, I want them to think that the more challenges, the more issues, The unknown that we might face in our life or in our work, it doesn't matter. They make us richer. They make our journey richer. They differentiate us than the other. So the more we push ourselves to do better, we break limitations. You know, you sometimes you're like, oh my God, I cannot work 16 hours. I worked 16 hours for 3 different assignments. Again, I'm not measuring them by hours, but it's the task that I had to deliver. You develop a new capabilities as a professional, and then you break boundaries that you didn't know you had before. So just always think that how can I be different? So you know, by the when Charles joined at the beginning, he said when we retire we need to have a plan. So whenever throughout this journey, whenever we are doing some differentiative action or we are going a little bit above and beyond, definitely we will be at 65 in a different place than somebody who didn't take those risks or those steps. The next section I will cover is about don't be harsh on your future self. I know, like when I was putting this presentation together, I was like, why did I choose to say future self? Why didn't I just say don't be harsh on yourself? I don't know why I said so, but don't be harsh on your future self. You know, our journey is made of phases. And in each one of them, we are not the same. Circumstances are not the same. Our passion, our energy are not the same. Our performance is not the same. Right after graduation with 23, not the same at 30, 35, 40, and so on. So when you graduate, this is a like an example what I'm expecting the student to be. They are single, okay? So they can choose. Do I want to work in Texas? Do I want to work in another country? I changed countries at 27. I was still single. Um, do I want to choose not to work if my family can afford my expenses for like a year or two? I just want to go explore the world. That's what they do a lot in Sweden. They take a year of break, they explore the world, then they go back to work or they start their work or whatever we're addressing, right? Being single will enable you to do whatever you want. But then a few years later, you're going to see that, you know, you have evolved your personality, you have some work experience, maybe work disappointment, maybe a few heartbreaks. I don't know when these happen in your life, but they, you know, they help build our personality and some positive influence. You know, life or people are not really bad most of the time. They can be good. So we do have positive influence in our life. And the reason I'm putting this picture is when I said Adam was jealous for good enough time, he still was kind here and there. He still was like, oh, this is a cute thing, you know. So that's why I'm trying to say like we yes, life is tough, but and we're gonna go through things, but just remember to be kind. And I'm gonna give few examples that I did go through where I had to remember to be kind to myself. The first one is taking a step back. Uh, you know, in Ericsson for 3 years and a half, I was traveling the world. I traveled in the Middle East because I was an employee in Lebanon. I traveled to Africa, I traveled to Europe and to the United States, which is how I end up here. So traveling for me was like just seeing the world, assignment, meeting people, knowing culture, loving their food, loving having different, you know, kind people in my life that I have to leave them again. But then it was around 30 where the shift happened to me, at least, is when I decided to get married after meeting my significant other. So, getting married for me, it was very important to take a step back because, okay, now it's the time that I need to invest in the relationship so that I set myself for a good start. And I do not mean by any chance that take a step back the whole career, the whole time because you are getting married. No, not me. But you choose one are those time in your career that you know what, take a step back. I don't need to be traveling. I don't need to be making that much money. So I was making less money by not traveling because When you travel, they give you allowance, you live the whole exotic life. When you are back behind the desk, you make different money. So it was important for me. And maybe for you in your career, it will come at other times. When is the time to take a step back? That is okay. You will have your moment, you will catch up later. The next example for a don't be harsh on future self, I would say you are always good enough. And I felt this with the same example of the layoff. You know, going through a layoff, it's not at all an experience that no matter how much people will talk about, you will be prepared for it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be that person, right? Because it's mainly layoff is like a surprise decision that came your way. It's not you choosing to exit. And what would you do, right? You're gonna sit, you're gonna cry, and you're gonna blame yourself. Oh my God, it was me, da da da. Or you're gonna start emailing professionals. You know, I remember very well. I was let go right after lunch, and I did cry for 2 3 hours. I held my tears until I exit the building, and then after I was in my car, I just felt I need to let go some of my feelings. So I did cry, but then here it is, Saturday morning. I was like, Fawad is the name of my husband. I was like, Fawad, I think I need to do something. And I started sending emails to all the professionals that I know. So it's okay if you are let go from a job, as long as you know it's happening. It's okay. Just tell yourself that the next job will be a better fit for me. And then there will be many other that, you know, you will be evolving your experience with. So you're going to find the right thing. And maybe you will blame yourself for a little bit, maybe not. It depends. I did blame myself because I was like, is it me? What did I really do wrong? But then I realized, no, it's not me. You know what? They let go thousands of people and it wasn't performance related. So move on, Tamara. Just find your next thing. So I always say, I am always good enough. I just need to find my place, my right environment. It might be triggered for you differently in the future. It doesn't need to be a layoff. But whenever you see that circumstances are not right, then just find your next move. The next one is about simple jobs are okay sometimes. Uh, I don't know. I like this picture when I was searching where would I saw it's like, oh, simple life. You know, you might go through dissatisfaction at your job sometime, and that dissatisfaction for me, it was not challenging enough. So I put it in the right context. It was a job that I had. Actually, it was a better pay, but it was challenging. It wasn't challenging. So I would finish my task really early during the day, but then I think I was lucky because at that same year I started my master's degree and I went back to school, you know, like after a long time from not being a student. So I was able to finish my task and study at the same time. And then I got all my A's and so on. So for me, when I have a simple job that I didn't know was gonna be simple job, like I remember interviewing to it, it sounded like this is the next big thing for me, and they gave me like 20K raise from previous salary. It's like I'm gonna be busy, and then 1 month into the works, like where is the busy exactly? So when you find yourself in those kind of situation, it's okay. Just you don't need to exit or something. Just try to see what can I do in this time. It's a good pay. It's acceptable tasks. How can I invest in myself? You don't really need to be in a job where it's constantly demanding effort, constantly demanding brain. It did happen to me later. That job that I mentioned at Honeywell, I was a poor, like you when you would ask me or when would that time I just sometimes I don't want to remember that phase. It was just too much that there was nothing but juggling. So simple jobs are okay. You're gonna have 40 years of career. Just remember that. The next one, this is a term that I learned recently at my current employer. Learn when good enough is good enough. I don't know if you have heard it, but it's amazing, by the way, when you get to it was the whole organization going through that training, Steve Gaffney, I think. When you really understand what that term means and how you can apply it in your day to day and how successful the team become when you know good enough is good enough. I'm gonna give different examples, and it might stick and mean something. You know, when, for example, when you are asked to write a process, you know, a document, and you need to write your first draft. You're either gonna be like, oh my God, I have to put this, you know, perfect, and I have to focus, and I have to do it all correct, and it shouldn't have any mistake. You know what? Learn when good enough is good enough means put the first draft out and send it out to your peers and let them give you a feedback. When you're working on a design, have a first mock-up and send it out to whom it matters and ask them for a feedback. When you're creating a tool, have a first version out and let the people work on it to break it so you can fix it faster, because probably the way your brain works different than they will work, so they will break it faster than you. This is learn when good enough is good enough. You don't need to think that I need to do the whole work to the perfection by myself. Companies don't want that. Companies want collaboration. Companies want you to use your time faster and wiser. So I would say collaboration and learn when good enough is good enough. This is how you can be kind to yourself by not putting everything on you, by saying that let's share this responsibility. The next one is not fun, but it's real, whether we like it or not, the sanity part. And out of all the pictures, I chose this one because I saw that she's kind of screaming very silently in the dark. You know, a lot of times maybe we go through this, men and women. I don't think like we always are in an environment where we can express our feelings. Like it's very recent. It's my face today. I have a 6 years old. I have a 2 years old, living the Corona life. They work a lot of times from home because they are sick. I work from home. They join me at home. So can you imagine this situation? So simply the sanity for me is like not getting the job done. That's okay. But my husband keeps saying, c'est la vie. That's life. It's okay if you don't get the job done today. There is always tomorrow. You're going to sleep. You're going to wake up. The responsibility didn't go anywhere. So maybe I was with my kids, physically with them, taking care of them, but my mind is taking care of the work that I need to do the moment I can. And mostly it's whenever they sleep. So it's not like they rested, so I'm going to go rest. When they rest is actually when I start to work. So sanity for me means do what you need to do at the time you are asked to do. If your time now to be with your family, do it. If you have to be at work extra over the weekend, do it. It's whatever brings you sanity. Just not try to do too many things at the same time. And to be honest, maybe if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't think that managers have learned that as well. They learned that the people are really doing the best they could. Some days productivity is less than others. That's fine. They know that their employees will catch up on them. And the last example about don't be harsh on yourself is manage expectations. Manage expectation is really a lesson I've learned a lot in my life, different disappointments. You know, in life, I think what makes us sad and disappointed is actually ourselves. We have a pool of friends, we start giving them a value, and we think they are, you know, they are after God to us, and then we start building that relationship, and then we get disappointed here and there because of something didn't go the way we wanted to go. So we need to start managing our expectation from everything around us. It might be, you know, you might aim for things, it's not going to happen. That's okay. As long as you tell yourself things might go wrong. At work, for example, I know that I went through this. It's funny that, you know, because we are spending 8 hours a day with our colleagues, with time, we really start calling them family. But they actually do have family. They're not our family. And I felt it in one of my employers. I joined the new, and like I would arrive in the morning and nobody will say good morning. Literally, they arrive and they start working at their cube. And I was like, man, in my previous job, these people used to be my family. I'm spending with you time more than I'm spending with my husband, with my kid at home. I'm here the whole day. So they train me. They actually slowly train me to manage expectation, nothing from people. They might say good morning. They might join for lunch. They might be busy or free for me for a chat. That's okay. So friendship, where you manage expectation, work is where you manage expectation. Now I'm going to give even a further example in the career that one day you are a manager yourself and you will be giving tasks for your people, you know. They might come to you with a 60% of accomplishment. That is okay. That is okay, because you want to tell yourself, you know what, they did 60%. I taught them something. I gave them the opportunity to go through the hassle of doing that task, and you're going to have to polish it to be to whatever expectation you want it to be. So you want to be kind to yourself, you want to be kind to other, and then remember that everybody has 1,000 things to do. We cannot perform to the best we can every time. Be kind, be compassionate. Uh, Definitely, we can always do better. But what better require? Maybe more time, maybe more sleep, maybe higher energy, and maybe you don't have it today. Maybe tomorrow you will, but not today. So remember that tomorrow will be always better. With this, I conclude my presentation. I'm gonna stop sharing and.
Well, thank you, Tamara. That was really wonderful. You brought up so many good points, so many life lessons that I think are invaluable. So I want to offer for anyone here, unmute yourself and feel free to ask questions. Just remember to mute yourself after you finish asking your question.
Do you want us to raise our hands? Karen, yeah, you're muted, Karen. So I've raised my hand. So I will ask a question, okay? So Tamara, this was a very inspirational talk that you gave. Sometimes I think we who are in academia, we don't realize. See, I came from industry. I spent 24 years of my career in industry before coming to academia. And then we don't realize, especially if we have tenure, that this is almost like a, job for life, I suppose, unless you commit a crime or something. So we don't appreciate the challenges, because when I was in industry, I worked for two companies, commercial, Control Data Corporation and Honeywell. And then at MITRE Corporation, which is a little bit sort of semi-academia, it's a federally funded research lab, semi-academia, sort of industry. But when you are sort of in control, unfortunately, I have been very fortunate not to get laid off. But still, when I was in Control Data, there was this worry because it was the third largest company at the time after IBM and DEC. Control Data was the number 3. We had 54,000 employees. And this was in the 80s, right? Developing those big mainframe, software for mainframe, Cyber 170, Cyber 180. So I was involved in developing distributed systems and network software. And I was there for just over two years and probably 3 or 4 months. Just during that time, there were layoffs, in the sense there were like 2 or 3. The company was kind of going downhill. There were 2 layoffs, I think, and I escaped. I was so relieved. But usually, so I was still in my 20s, mid to late 20s, and at that time, they were laying off the older people, and the so-called older people were sort of like in their late 40s. Okay, I mean, I'm 66, so being in the late 40s is very young right now. But you can see, right? So surviving that, I think it's a very good inspirational talk for especially our students. So I know you said some very good things. So if you want to sort of summarize, okay, what are the major, if you're laid off from a company and you still want to thrive in your career, what are some of the key points some three major things that a person has to do?
Now, I would say networking, networking, networking. Those are,
Okay.
it repeats 3 times. Why I am here today? Because of Karen. Why I get to meet Karen? Because of Rodney. Why I met Rodney? Because of Tech Titan. Why here's what I am seeing today. I am seeing today that whenever we, definitely when we are at the beginning of career, it's not that much powerful, right? We are just a number, but it is with time that we start building that differentiative of us, who we are. And our network, the people we know, they're gonna help us grow. They are the one who they're gonna be our sponsor.
Yes.
Before we used to hear the word mentor. I need a mentor. Word mentor is good enough, but being word sponsor is even better. What does it mean? That means tomorrow, Ms. Bhavani, whenever you're going to have a meeting, I'm not even there. I'm not even looking for a job. You're going to see a position for a program director. You're going to remember person like Tamara, and you're going to say, Tamara, I found you your next job. I'm going to be like, I'm not even looking for jobs. Like, no, you are looking, and I find you a better opportunity. This is what a sponsor means. Get to be known. Let people know your skills. Let people know where is your advantages and where you work best, and they're gonna be your sponsor. When I was let go, I did mention I didn't have a network. Yes, I did email 50 people, but most of them, they were Ericsson, because I didn't know the value of networking. Today, if I let go, I will be emailing way more than just my existing employer. So networking is, yes, I emphasized on it 3 times. Networking is definitely number 1. Learning is number 2. You did see that at different times. I did see myself with all my degrees. Still, I need more. I need more. What will make you better than your peers?
That extra. And one other thing, Tamara, I think I just wanted to, if it's okay, just wanted to also, what you inspired was, it doesn't matter whether you're 26 or 66 or 25 or 65. There's always, you don't want to get complacent. I was very, very good in networking. But the last 7-8 years, everything was coming very easily and everything was going very well. And I was getting all these awards, one after the other. And so I wasn't really networking as much. And suddenly I'm finding myself, what's next? I mean, there are so many things I want to do, but still it's not, people might think, why is she talking when she's got everything, a great career? But, you have to keep, as you said, you have to keep your mind active, and you've got to be looking for that opportunity. Right? Yeah.
But those awards, you got them because of all the networking you did before you take a break from networking. I mean,
Right.
Definitely your hard work, and your achievement and your,
I got these awards sort of steadily until recently, until like last year or 2020 or 2021. But now there's not much more to get. I still could have, if I had kept the networking, I could have gotten even higher and higher awards. But some of unfortunately, I didn't, especially COVID has affected us. Right. Anyway, I'll have a question maybe later on, but I'll give others an opportunity. Finish, Karen. Later on, I'll ask a question, but maybe others will have questions.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? You can raise your hand or just unmute yourself.
I don't see anybody have any question, but I really got inspired, and the things that some of your examples is really like what I'm dealing with every day. I have also 2 little ones, and holding your career a little bit behind, and kind of think about, okay, I don't have to be always be busy with everything as you have kids, and balancing. And you're right, I tried balancing my life. It's not possible. With COVID, even worse. So I agree with all your basically inspiration and or your talks. So it's really close to home basically for me as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was just going to say exactly the same thing, that, during the course of my education and working, I had 3 children, and you always strive to be perfect at everything, perfect mother, perfect instructor, perfect wife, everything. And it's what you said about work-life balance really hit home to me. And I hope that all of the students realize that we all go through this, and there will be times where, you will have to sacrifice one thing for another. You won't always be the best. But yeah, I really enjoyed your commentary.
And I'd like to ask a question about how to handle things during COVID, maybe a discussion, but something else I wanted to mention. We talk about work-life balance. I'm reading 2 books. First, one I finished, I'm reading another one. It's about grandmothers at work, work-life balance, grandmothers who work full-time. I've got 2 tiny grandchildren. Grandmothers working full-time and still being caregivers. So I was very excited. I thought, okay, it'll be great having fun with grandchildren, these grandmothers. By the time I finished reading the first book, I got so depressed. I mean, these are grandmothers and they are all between like 50 to 70 years of age. So not too young, not too old, but I'm sort of somewhere not even in the middle, a little bit on the older side. But anyway, it was depressing because these grandmothers are working full time and they've got very fulfilling jobs. I mean, some are anyway, they are fulfilling jobs, but they have to take care of, they are spending about 15, 20, 25 hours unpaid taking care of the grandchildren. But it's not for the fun of it. It's because the children are divorced single parents. They have to work. They have to go to school. The children, especially daughters. So grandmothers, they have to even support the children. They are dipping into their retirements. And then their husbands are complaining, we need to have our life. It is not easy for these ladies. And so I don't know, it's very depressing. But then I'm just about to read Leslie Stahl's book on grandmothers at work. And I read some review. I haven't read, but she's probably talking about transatlantic flights and first class flights. I mean, she's a very well-known CBS broadcaster. So one lady is writing, Miss Stahl, not all of us are white and wealthy and have the luxury that you have. So maybe her story will be very different. But what I'm trying to say is always going to be struggle, right? Work-life balance. It's not easy.
Yeah,
but
and
you mustn't get discouraged.
yeah, what I would bring here is, I don't know really who's going to be listening to this conversation later, but this is one of the things I hope um, men and women, girls and boys are becoming smarter at doing, which is choosing the partner that really understand their ambition and their career and where do they want to get. If any boy or girl invest in their education and they are graduate and they are about to start their becoming professional and successful professional, do I want a husband who's like want to support me to go big? I'm sitting with you for the last hour today. Who's taking care of the 2 kids? It's the husband, right? To your point of the COVID, I remember there was a point literally like month or 2 after that picture I showed where Sophia is on my lap and Adam on my feet. I went to my husband. He was unmuted. He didn't know he was unmuted. And I said, Fawad, I'm quitting. No. I said, Fawad, I'm sending kids to daycare. Sophia was not 6 months at the time. And he said, no, we're not sending kids to daycare. I'm quitting my job. And somebody texted my husband saying, hey, guys, you're unmuted. They probably saw that, somebody made a comment. So they thought that we might have an argument or something, that they said, guys, mute yourself. So it's really important to choose the right partner. It's really important. You don't want to invest a whole education and you start a career and you start something, and then just because you fell in love with someone who doesn't believe your belief, I don't think this is something these days. If somebody doesn't believe my belief, I should not be with him. He needs to believe what I believe. He needs to see my ambition. He needs to see my dream. He needs to be my happiness. Otherwise, I don't want to invest my next 40 years with you. And I tell you, ladies, with you, all of you now, you're probably in my next, so many times I ask myself, why did I do this? Right? Why? why I was like just like where they are today. They are single, they're living, they're having fun, they're doing whatever. I was like where we are today, right? We're juggling, we can barely get through the day. But I remember sometimes with Adam, one time I gave him dinner popcorn, right? Like was like, he's gonna make it. It's fine. One night popcorn is not gonna make me not a good mom. But my point is, choose your partner that will support you. There are so many unknown in future. We didn't know COVID will come. We didn't know we're gonna be working from home. We didn't know we're gonna be stuck at home because they are sick or whatever. But as long as we have the right support, man or woman, husband and wife, we know we can lean on each other. So maybe from this, I would say to everybody, be very, very smart and be very thoughtful that you are not only choosing a sweetheart to be with, you are only choosing a partner, a real partner for the rest of your life. I would like to read the comment from Sherry.
You have.
Maybe if Sherry just like unmutes yourself and just say what you want to say, that's probably
Yeah.
easy.
My mic. Okay, then I'm so maybe please Karen read it. I don't want to be the one reading.
Okay. So Sherry is saying that she feels that lack of work-life balance right now as a student. She's got to do homework, projects, and she feels like she's never had a personal life. And I think that is something that younger people do experience now because they've had so much pressure in high school, and then they go to college and there's more pressure. And so she feels like she's not doing enough on the productivity side, and she feels also like she's not living her life. And so what you have said in your guidance has made her rethink the way she sees her life. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Again, I don't know why somebody gives us any hope about that. And to your point, I had many drafts for the speak tonight. And in one of the drafts, I had this example that when we are in school, we don't choose anything. When we are in college, yes, we choose the major and everything. But what comes with it, all these courses, all these studies, no personal life, the point she said, it just comes with the education. And now here we are graduating and becoming professional, and there is also no work-life balance. Or what's happening, right? Where does it come from? So whoever came with that term, maybe we need to go to him or her and just like make them reword it, rechange it, rethink it.
Yeah, or maybe they were in an easier field.
But you know what? I would say also like work-life balance sometimes, and probably I do live it with my husband, to be honest with you, with our family. Sometimes when we are together one day and we bring the joy and we do activities, it is rewarding enough. It's not it's not enough to compare to the 6 days that they passed, but it's about I would say the quality, not the quantity. You don't really need to be finishing 8 to 5 to say that I have a work-life balance, because from 5 to 9 there is not enough 8 hours after 5 p.m. anyway. So if you're measuring by time, you will never get there. But we just want to think, okay, what made me happy today? Okay, today made, and a lot of times work becomes so much rewarding and fulfilling. I remember those years having an assignment and traveling and delivering and getting these recognition. I was a tomboy for the longest of my career. I was working with men day and night. Yeah, for me work was fulfilling. It was my life. Work was my life. There was no like work life, it's life. But it changes later, right? Because now you are on the other phase.
The way I see it, and I've been around, I worked for 40, I mean, I finished my PhD 25, so 41 years. And for me, work life, right, sometimes it's work, sometimes it's life. I mean, there are days that you work, and there's no life. But then there are days you enjoy with the family and everything, and there's no work. So you got to, it's not like 8 hours of work and then 8 hours of life. No, it's a sort of it depends. And what I've, over the years, right, right, when you are younger, you want to be perfect and everything. And most of you all are very young anyway. to be perfect and everything. But as you get older, you don't worry too much about it. And so, you've got to take things as they come, and then depend. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to say. You can plan and plan and plan, and sometimes it doesn't work the way life doesn't work the way you want it to work. Then you've got to adjust. That's the adapt.
You go to bed at 10 p.m. thinking that
Yes.
I'm gonna be waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning, and suddenly at 2 a.m. in the morning, your daughter has a fever of 100.
Yes.
If I knew I could have slept at 6 p.m. when I put my daughter to bed, it's like exactly what you are saying. There is so much, like you just, I believe you don't know what you're going to do in 4 hours. Like you can receive a call right now from any relative of yours that will make you travel somewhere. All my family is in Lebanon. I am the only person here. I always fear that call where my mom and dad, something happened to them, or my brother, something happened to him, and I have to take the next flight. But then I have a plan. See, when you think of something, then you start changing the term of if to the term when. When my mom, something happened to her, I'm taking a flight. When my mom something or dad something happened to them, I'm taking a flight. I have an outfit. My kids will join me. My husband can come or join me. When you start looking at what would I do when this thing happened, then you are good enough. You're preparing for what you could. That's why you can only think of different scenarios and they become a when in your life, not like if something happens. Something will happen. It's a matter of time. Just be ready and be prepared. What would you do?
Mhm. Maybe someone else might want to ask a question, Karen.
So yes, please, anyone, let's raise your hand for now. Okay, great. So unmute yourself and thank you.
Hi, Mr. Mara. It was really inspiring, especially because it was a realistic picture of how the career will span, and also the fact that you said that there will be different phases and we will evolve from time to time, and that was really interesting. I had two questions. So the first one was, you said that after, once you were laid off, you also started increasing your network and you did more networking. I was interested to know what are some of the strategies you used, because I am an introvert and I don't uh, take up the opportunity for networking usually. So I was just interested to know what are some of the strategies.
The beginning for me, it was really a neighborhood church. I was living in Frisco at the time. And then in that church, they look, sorry, they hold on every Tuesday or every whatever Tuesday of the month. They do networking meeting in the morning. And mostly it's the people who are looking for a job show up. So there are different meetups that either the group itself, they have a goal, which is find a job. And then in those kind of meetup, I think that day, the gentleman was giving us a session on how we fix our LinkedIn. Okay, so
Okay.
they hold these kind of sessions to give you different skills and different thoughts, and then you become on their mailing list. And then from there onward, every time there is a job, I tell you, whenever every company they list a job on their website, there is probably a 7,000 fee accommodated to make it outside going to the public. So they do go to a lot of local committees and local connections and local group just like this one, where they don't need to list it. They write the job description and they circulate it around. So this is one aspect, but this is an aspect where you don't have a job. What do I do? The other aspect is I am professional. I am working. What do I do? There are groups, women in technologies. There are group of SWE for women of engineers. I would say you start asking your friends and your peer, what are you, just like at university today, right? You guys have minimum 4 or 5 chapters. for all these girls. The
Mhm.
same, it's going to be in the professional life. You're going to be meeting different men and women, and they're going to be part of different happy hour groups. And I tell you, show up to the happy hour. You don't need to drink, just so you know. Nobody force you to drink. You can have a glass of water in your hand the whole day. So just take the benefit of showing up, start
Mhm.
talking, having your pitch ready, your 1 minute who you are, and
Okay.
how would you introduce yourself. You don't need to be creative in that description. You have all the time to prepare it at home and practice it and say it over and over and over. And then you go around, you start collecting cards. So this is still happening before COVID. I understand life is different with networking after COVID. Now it's about who you know that you already established a network with. When Karen introduced me at the beginning, the nonprofit I am in, it's called Alliance of Technology and Women,
Mhm.
DFW, ATW. We mainly, and I don't want to be in a place where I'm promoting, but I'm just gonna share. They are a woman that they work in IT in general. They don't need to be an engineering positions, just IT in general, and they have a good network in that group. That there is so many CEOs and CTOs. I was like, and I get to do different volunteering activities with them. One day I did interview like 5 or 6 CEO and CTO that day. So now they became like my network, my LinkedIn connection. And if I say, oh, I was with Valerie Freeman, you know how many like you get when when you have a picture with that kind of person. So there are local groups, and for me it does make sense that you want to make this connection in your area, right? Like
Okay.
you want Karen to help you, you want Mera to help you. You don't want a person, God knows, like in Atlanta, how he's gonna help you unless you're really moving to Atlanta.
Okay.
So you're gonna know by asking your friends, and one group will lead you to the other. I know that in my organization, the nonprofit one, the women are in like 3-4 groups easily, so you just ask them. There is no really there is no like better, I would say, uh, a booklet about it, not that I'm aware of, at least.
Okay.
Tamara, I have a quick question. I attended DFW, ATW meetings 2010 and 2011. I was on a cloud panel 2010, and 2011 I gave a talk on data mining for malware. And then I lost touch, and I would like to rejoin. It was a small group. We used to meet near the Dallas North Tollway, near the Sheraton, one building. Then recently, about a year and a half ago, I went for one of the, no, before COVID, 2019, fall, I went for one of the meetings. Our dean was on a panel. The massive number of people now, large crowd. It was a very
Yeah,
small
we're
group.
almost 400. Yeah, we're almost 400 now. They are
2000.
not
So
active.
how can we join? How can I rejoin? Maybe
You
I should.
just go, yeah, dfwatw.org. We have
Yeah.
a meeting this Thursday about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We continue to have 1 month a meeting, 7 months
Thursdays,
a
I
year.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I went
And
2 Thursdays
yeah.
in 2010 and then to 2011. Yeah.
Yeah. Just go to the website, renew your membership, and then we are even have more educational programs today to help women switch and transition from a career to other. Like, for example, last year they did, and this is how we came to meet a lot of the people at UTD. There was a
Thank
Ignite, and the program Ignite was skilling people with Salesforce. So
you.
Salesforce came and they gave the woman training of 8 weeks and 12 weeks, and then they helped them do the certification, and then they helped them find a job after. So we are really now. I think we just kicked off this week AWS, and it's about I don't know. We have it on the website. How many? So they are doing really good.
Yeah. There was a message for me from Shoba. She said they would welcome me.
Yeah,
To DFW.
Shoba,
Thank you so much. There was a
she's
purpose.
the
Yeah.
STEM. Yeah.
She's
Uh,
here, I think. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Manasa, you had a second question, if you don't mind. I know we're 8:07, by the way, so feel free to tell me, let's get it off. But if you want
Yeah.
to have her second question, then we cut off as you wish.
Yeah, this was more of a general question. So since all of you had around 20 years of experience or more, I wanted to know, do you think that the situation in the workplace is stacked up against women in the sense that the expectation is that even when they are caregivers, they need to, with respect to work or so on, in general.
I want to take it before it gets to be I'm the youngest. So
Oh gosh,
and
there's so
it's actually the era is even different, right? Like between
yeah.
Bhavani and between me, that age that you're talking about. Remember, a caregiver is very it's crazy life at different phases of your kids too, from 0 to 5, where they literally can't do much unless you're there. Different than 5 to 15, different than when you are today.
This is a problem, like for women, right? Without a doubt, there is, if you say there is no discrimination, it's not the case. There is, it's very subtle, and I feel that there are some opportunities I might have gotten if I was a man. In computer science, I don't think there is as much racial discrimination, because there are so many people of all different, nationalities, especially if you're a South Asian or East Asian, then I think there are so many of them, right? So I don't see that as much, because now you see, Asian men, South Asian and East Asian, in higher positions, like not only department heads, deans and provosts and presidents. But then women, there's always a problem. But what I do is, because I do things that I really love, and there are things that I have gotten, and there are things that I haven't, and then you cannot dwell. I know some people say you have to fight for it. I mean, I don't dwell on the negatives. I just forge ahead with the positives, right? So that's how I have survived, and in fact thrived. Okay, so there have been always some small things here and there, and that's why I always tell women, I give a lot of talks for women in cybersecurity and women in data science, and I always tell them a high paying job is a must for every woman, because then if you don't, even in the workplace or at home, if you are not happy with the situation, or if you are being abused or discriminated, you can always find something else, right? So that is why I always tell them you have to get that high paying job. So anyway, so somebody else might want to add to that. Yeah.
I mean, times has changed as well, right? Times has changed in what sense? Even the woman who is the professional who she think I am being discriminated. Discrimination might her different angles on it. Like maybe the first discrimination is like, can she deliver the same, right? Let's just say simple. Now you have the job. Can you deliver the same? It's gonna be up to you, right? For me, a lot of times I get a babysitter and I'm at home, but I need to focus on things. So you want to be also open-minded on, I don't need to cook. Now, I'm not saying it's exotic and not everybody can afford it. I'm not saying I'm paying $500 for things. Don't get me wrong. But I am saying with time, with your career, you will be making okay money, decent money, high paying job at some point in your career. But throughout, you can afford to offload things. Just offload. This is when it's like be kind to yourself. You don't really need to clean the home every time, and you don't really need to beat the laundry. Just call the husband, and it's like if you're not doing the husband, I'm not sorry, the laundry. I'm not doing the laundry, so somebody has to do it, right? If you didn't get the chance to cook, go buy food. If you didn't, if you have to focus, get that babysitter for 1 hour. So we also has changed as young women professional. We don't think that, oh, it's not good to get somebody, oh, it's not good if we buy the food. It's totally fine. So this is part of us being even capable to deliver, right? Maybe before my mom didn't think like that. Maybe my mom, if it didn't put the meal at the table, is like a failure for her as a woman. What, you didn't cook today? So we have changed also in the way we think. We say we want to enable ourselves to do things. In order to enable ourselves to do things, we want to think that, okay, somebody else has to do something. Why we send our kids to daycare? My mom took 5 years off until I was going to public school. We send them to daycare so that we can work. And I remember one time, one of my manager was trying to make the case, with 2 kids, it didn't make sense because my wife's income was equal to our spending. So she stayed at home. I remember I told him I had that agreement with my husband before we even come to it. Even if I am paying a negative to daycare, if I sit at home idle, it's going to be harder for me to even find a job. So I am putting all my income for my kids to go to daycare so I can be a professional. It's also a mindset, right? It's a mind. Why a man never think like this? What do I do if I have 2 kids? Why it's only us? We have to take that into consideration. It's our kids, not mine. So I believe it's your personality, your desire, your goal, your ambition, your surrounding. You also want to have those people around you that they lift you, right? Miss Karen knows that I'm doing potty training with my daughter now. I just want my husband to tell me tomorrow is going to be better. You want those people that will lift you in whatever misery, okay? It's a misery. Whatever misery you're going through, you want the people that will fake it for you and will tell you tomorrow is going to be better. Even tomorrow might be worse, but you're going to sleep with the hope of tomorrow is going to be better. So that's my thought. Also, we as women as changing, Ms. Bhavani, I agree discrimination continue to exist and equal pay is not there yet, but we as women has changed as well.
Yes, and not only was she potty training, the other child had COVID.
Oh,
And she still agreed to give this talk. So
Okay.
she has a spirit of service as well, and we appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you so much for listening as well. Charles has exit. Well, I believe it's 8:14. If you are okay, we can just end it. We're good.
Absolutely. So thank you again. Everyone give her a little applause because I think your talk was diverse enough that everyone got what they needed to hear tonight.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And connect with me on LinkedIn, and then I'm here for any further follow-up if needed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.